All right, what's up, everybody? Mr. Lucas here.
What's going on, everybody? Mr. Lucas here, back with another PE activity for you. Today's activity is called throw, kick, score, and let's get right into it. The equipment you're going to need for this activity are 3 floor markers, poly spots, whatever you have, 1 piece of throwing equipment, depending on what you're working on with your students, you choose, 1 piece of kicking equipment, 1 die. If you don't have dice, don't worry about it. We're going to be using the die to balance on a cone and be a target for the students to throw or kick at, so that it can fall off the cone. So whatever you have that is suitable for that will work just fine, and then 2 cones. So here's the setup for the activity. Pretty simple. I would recommend having your students in very small groups for this, groups of 2 or 3. They can even work solo if you have enough equipment. And here we go. Here's how it works. So the students have a few different options and strategies for how they want to proceed with this activity. Students will start at level 1, and their first option is to throw at the die. And if the die falls over, whether they hit the cone and the die falls over, if they hit the die directly, doesn't matter. As long as the die falls over, whatever number is facing up will be the number of points they earn for their team. Now they'll be earning these points collectively, so they'll have to keep track and add these numbers together to keep track of how many points they have as a group. Second option is the students can throw at the piece of kicking equipment. And if the students knock it over, the piece of kicking equipment will now enter the game as the game proceeds. So the piece of kicking equipment will go on the poly spot for the next player, and the piece of throwing equipment will be exchanged and balanced on the cone, and the game will move on. Now, every time the students knock over the die, they're going to move back a level. So here we move back to level 2, and then they'll move back to level 3. At that point, you can decide if you want your students to stay at level 3 or return to level 1. That's up to you. Another way you can modify this activity to add a little more depth to it and a little more physical activity for the group as a whole is whether you have a projector or a piece of paper at each station. You could assign an activity or an exercise to each of the sides of the die. So whatever number is earned, or whatever number is facing up when the die falls, you could have an exercise for that number, and a certain amount of reps for the whole group to do before they can move on. So just an idea there. I hope you enjoy this activity. I hope your students do, and we'll see you next time.